Hey, Reddit. I don't even know where to start, but here goes. It's been a crazy holiday season, and not in the way you'd hope. My wife, Emily, and I had been married for 8 years. We've got two amazing kids, Jamie, 7, and Lily, 4, and up until recently, I thought our life was pretty great. Sure, we had our share of arguments, but who doesn't, right? This year, Emily had been acting different. She used to love the holidays, decorating the tree, singing along to Christmas songs, baking cookies with the kids. But this time, it was like she couldn't care less. Every time I asked her what was wrong, she'd snap back with some excuse about being stressed from work or tired of managing the house. I tried to give her the benefit of the doubt. Maybe she was just burned out. But little things started piling up. She was glued to her phone more than usual, smiling at texts she wouldn't share. She started dressing up way more than necessary for errands, and coming home later than usual. When I asked her where she'd been, her answers always felt rehearsed. Oh, just meeting Beth for coffee. Or, traffic was awful. I didn't want to believe anything was wrong. After all, it was Christmas, and I wanted to keep things cheerful for the kids. So, I put on my blinders and focused on making the holiday special. I planned the best Christmas Eve dinner, complete with Emily's favorite wine, thinking maybe it'd cheer her up. That night, as the kids hung their stockings, I felt like something was missing. Emily was distracted, barely paying attention as Jamie proudly placed his handmade ornament on the tree. She disappeared upstairs before dessert, claiming she needed to make a phone call to her mom. Something about her tone didn't sit right, though. So, yeah, that was Christmas Eve, the night I started to really question everything. What was Emily hiding? And why did it feel like our little family was suddenly a house of cards, ready to collapse? I didn't know it yet, but the answers were about to hit me like a freight train. Christmas morning came with the usual excitement, the kids bounding into our room, shouting about presents under the tree. For a few hours, it felt normal. Jamie and Lily tore through wrapping paper, squealing with delight at the toys Santa had brought. I held on to that joy like a lifeline, trying to ignore the gnawing doubt in my mind. Emily seemed a bit more cheerful too. She even snapped a few photos of the kids in their pajamas. But when it came time for us to exchange gifts, things got weird. She handed me my gift with a smile that didn't quite reach her eyes. Inside was a sleek smartwatch, the kind I'd casually mentioned wanting months ago. It was thoughtful, sure, but it felt oddly transactional, like she was checking a box. "Do you like it?" she asked, a little too eagerly. "Yeah, it's great," I said, trying to sound enthusiastic. But her reaction didn't match the moment. She just nodded and looked away, reaching for her phone on the couch. Then it was my turn to give her a gift. I'd spent weeks planning it, a custom bracelet with the kids' birthstones and a heartfelt note about how much I loved her. She opened the box, gave a faint smile, and mumbled, "Thanks, it's lovely." "That's it? Lovely?" The reaction felt off, and I couldn't shake the feeling that she wasn't really there with me. It was like her mind was a million miles away. She barely put the bracelet on before going back to her phone, texting someone with a grin she didn't even bother to hide. That's when I noticed something else. Among the presents under the tree was one I didn't recognize, a small, neatly wrapped box with a gold bow. It wasn't from me, and the kids said it wasn't for them. "Who's this from?" I asked, holding it up. Emily froze for a second before recovering. "Oh, that's from Beth. She dropped it off for me yesterday. Just a little something." I shrugged it off at first, but later, when the kids were busy with their toys, I saw her sneaking off to open it. I followed her into the kitchen, quietly enough that she didn't notice. She unwrapped the box like it held a treasure, pulling out a pair of diamond earrings. Not just any earrings, luxury ones that screamed expensive. My chest tightened as she held them up to the light, a dreamy smile on her face. "Beth got you those?" I asked, startling her. She jumped, nearly dropping the earrings. "Yeah," she said quickly, stuffing the box back into her bag. "She's been doing really well at work, and she wanted to spoil me. Crazy, right? Crazy wasn't the word I'd use. Something about her explanation didn't sit right. Since when did Beth give people jewelry that looked like it cost a month's salary? But Emily didn't give me time to press further. She mumbled something about making coffee and disappeared. By the time dinner rolled around, I couldn't stop thinking about the earrings, or the text she'd been glued to all morning. A storm of doubt and suspicion was brewing, and I couldn't ignore it anymore. Something was going on, and I was going to find out what. Dinner was supposed to be the highlight of Christmas Day. I'd roasted a turkey. Emily had made her famous sweet potato casserole, well, she used to, and the kids were excited for dessert. But the tension between us was as thick as gravy. I couldn't stop watching her, how she smiled at the kids but avoided looking at me, how her phone buzzed on the counter, lighting up like a Christmas tree. Each ping sent my blood pressure through the roof. Halfway through dinner, Lily asked an innocent question. "Mommy, who were you talking to this morning?" Emily froze, her fork hovering midair. "What do you mean, sweetie?" she asked, her voice a touch too sweet. Lily, completely oblivious to the tension, giggled. "I saw you talking on your phone by the window. You were whispering. Was it Santa?" Emily's face went pale. She laughed nervously. "Oh, honey, that was just Aunt Beth. She wanted to wish us Merry Christmas." Jamie piped up next. "But I thought Aunt Beth was at church. She posted pictures with her family on Instagram this morning." The kids were just being curious, but their words hit like a sledgehammer. Emily shot me a look, panicked, almost pleading, but I didn't say a word. I just kept eating, pretending to be engrossed in carving the turkey. Let her sweat, I thought. "Beth called before she went to church," Emily said hastily, her tone sharp now. "Can we drop this and enjoy dinner?" But the damage was done. I could see the cracks forming, her usual confident lies starting to falter. And then came the cherry on top. As we were clearing the table, her phone buzzed again. She grabbed it quickly, but not before Jamie, bless his curious little heart, peeked over her shoulder. "Mommy, who's Max?" he asked innocently. The room went dead silent. My stomach dropped. Emily's eyes widened, and she scrambled to lock her phone, clutching it like it was a life raft. "No one," she snapped. "Just someone from work." "Max is a boy's name," Jamie said, wrinkling his nose. "Do you work with him a lot?" Emily turned to me, her face a mix of anger and desperation, like she was daring me to say something. But I didn't need to. The kids had already planted the seed, and her reaction was all the confirmation I needed. There was no Beth, no innocent explanation. Whoever Max was, he was a problem, and I was about to find out just how big. That night, after the kids were in bed, I made my move. Emily was in the shower, and her phone was on the nightstand, buzzing away like crazy. My heart pounded as I picked it up. She'd changed her passcode recently, but I wasn't stupid. After a few tries, I cracked it, Jamie's birthday. What I found left me cold. There were dozens of messages from Max, starting with innocuous, "Merry Christmas," wishes and quickly spiraling into something else entirely. There were pictures, selfies of him, gym mirror shots, and one of him shirtless with a Santa hat. The texts weren't much better. "I can't stop thinking about last night. Did he like the earrings? Hope he doesn't get suspicious. I miss you, baby. New Year's Eve can't come soon enough." I felt like I'd been punched in the gut. Last night? Earrings? New Year's Eve? My mind raced, connecting the dots. Those earrings weren't from Beth. They were from him. Max wasn't just some random coworker, he was her lover. And New Year's Eve? I didn't even want to know what plans they'd made. I heard the water shut off in the bathroom. My hands were shaking as I put the phone back, exactly where I'd found it. I couldn't confront her yet, I needed to know everything. So, I did what any self-respecting betrayed husband would do. I started planning my next move. The day after Christmas started off deceptively normal. Emily was cheerful, overly so, like she was trying to overcompensate for the tension last night. She made breakfast for the kids, laughed at their jokes, and even gave me a peck on the cheek. But I wasn't buying it. I'd spend half the night going through her phone while she slept, screenshotting every damning text between her and Max, and sending them to my email. And Max? Oh, Max was something else. I'd learned enough from their messages to know he wasn't just her lover. He was younger, mid-20s maybe, a personal trainer who loved flexing his abs as much as he loved wooing married women. There were references to meetups at hotels, gym sessions that were clearly more than exercise, and worst of all, plans to spend New Year's Eve together. I couldn't let it slide. Not anymore. As the day went on, Emily started getting dressed up again, tight jeans, high heels, and a sweater that hugged her in all the right places. She spritzed on perfume, the same one she used to wear on date nights with me. "Where are you going?" I asked, keeping my tone casual. "Just meeting Beth for some post-Christmas shopping," she said, not even looking at me as she tied her scarf. Beth again. "Sure. Sounds fun," I replied. "Mind if I call her to say hi?" Her hand froze midair. Why?" "I haven't talked to her in a while," I said, shrugging. "It'd be nice to catch up." Emily's face turned red. "She's already on her way to the mall. You know how Beth is, always rushing. I'll tell her you said hi." She grabbed her bag and bolted before I could say another word. The second she left, I got to work. I'd installed a GPS tracker on her phone while she was in the shower last night, something I never thought I'd stoop to, but here we were. I pulled up the app and watched as her little blue dot headed not toward the mall but straight to a boutique hotel across town. By the time she parked, I was already on the road. My heart was racing, a mix of rage and adrenaline. This was it. No more guessing, no more pretending. When I pulled up to the hotel, I saw her car in the lot, parked next to a shiny black sports car. Max's, I assumed. The pieces were falling into place faster than I could process. I didn't storm in right away. Instead, I sat in the lot, fuming, staring at the entrance, and trying to figure out my next move. That's when I saw them. Emily walked out of the lobby with Max. He was exactly how I'd pictured him, smug, handsome in a gym rat kind of way, with biceps straining against his too tight sweater. She was laughing at something he said, her arm linked with his. It took every ounce of self-control not to jump out of the car and confront them on the spot. Instead, I took out my phone and snapped a picture. Proof. Hard evidence. As they walked to his car, I hit record, catching the moment he leaned in and kissed her. Not a peck, a full-blown, movie-style kiss. My stomach churned, but I kept the camera steady. This wasn't just about catching her anymore. It was about showing her that she couldn't gaslight me when the time came. They drove off together, and I followed at a distance. Sure enough, they ended up at a steakhouse on the other side of town. Probably their version of a post-Christmas celebration. I sat outside the restaurant for 2 hours, stewing, imagining every scenario in my head. Do I confront them here? Do I wait until she gets home and blindside her with the evidence? Ultimately, I decided to play the long game. I had one more card to play, and I needed to make it count. That night, when Emily came home, she acted like nothing was wrong. She even brought back a shopping bag as proof of her trip to the mall. "Look, I found this cute sweater," she said, holding it up like it wasn't a decoy. I smiled, nodded, and played along. "Looks great," I said. But inside, I was already planning the fireworks show. New Year's Eve wasn't going to go the way she thought it would. Not even close. The days leading up to New Year's Eve were a blur of quiet rage and meticulous planning. Emily acted like everything was fine, going about her routine as if I didn't know she was sneaking around with her gym rat boyfriend. Meanwhile, I was setting the stage for what would be the most unforgettable and catastrophic New Year's celebration of her life. On December 31st, I played the perfect husband. I cooked breakfast, helped the kids build a fort in the living room, and even offered to pick up champagne for the evening. Emily smiled at me in a way that almost made me doubt myself. Almost. That night, she got ready like a woman with plans. She put on a sleek black dress, the same one she wore to our anniversary dinner last year, and those diamond earrings from Max. The gall of it all. "Don't wait up for me," she said with a casual shrug, like she wasn't about to spend the night with her lover. "Beth and I might crash at her place if it gets late." "Sure thing," I replied, hiding the storm brewing beneath my calm exterior. As soon as she left, I got to work. You see, I'd tracked every detail of her plan with Max, right down to the hotel room they'd reserved for their little celebration. Room 421 at the Crystal Heights Hotel. And thanks to some creative maneuvering, I'd gotten my hands on a keycard for that very room. With the kids safely at my parents' house, I drove to the hotel and parked a few blocks away. The adrenaline was coursing through my veins as I walked into the lobby, past the receptionist who barely glanced at me. I took the elevator up to the 4th floor and waited. I didn't have to wait long. Through the peephole, I saw them stumble down the hallway, laughing, their hands all over each other. Max unlocked the door, and they disappeared inside. Showtime. I gave them 10 minutes, just enough time to get comfortable, before I swiped my card and walked in like I owned the place. Emily's face went white as a sheet. She was sitting on the edge of the bed, her shoes off, champagne glasses on the nightstand. Max was standing by the window, mid-sentence, holding a bottle of bubbly. "Don't stop on my account," I said, my voice icy. "I wouldn't want to interrupt such a romantic moment." Emily jumped to her feet, stammering. What are you doing here?" "I could ask you the same thing," I shot back, holding up my phone. "Except I already know the answer. Care to explain this?" I hit play on the video of them kissing in the parking lot. Max's smug grin faded instantly. "Hey man, this isn't what it looks like." "Don't speak." My voice was a low growl. I turned to Emily. "You've been lying to me, to our kids, to everyone." "And for what?" "This guy?" I jabbed a finger toward Max, who now looked like he wanted to disappear into the wallpaper. Emily's mouth opened and closed like a fish gasping for air. "It's not what you think. I was going to tell you." I laughed bitterly. "Oh, really? Before or after your New Year's Eve hookup?" The fireworks weren't just verbal. Remember how I said I'd been planning? I reached into my bag and pulled out a manila envelope, tossing it onto the bed. "Happy New Year, Emily. Consider this your official introduction to divorce proceedings." Her eyes widened as she ripped open the envelope. "You can't be serious." "Oh, I'm serious," I interrupted. "I've got the texts, the photos, and everything else I need to make sure you get exactly what you deserve." "And Max?" I turned to him, my voice dripping with contempt. "You might want to start looking for a new gym, because your little escapades are going viral tonight." I wasn't bluffing. On my way to the hotel, I'd uploaded everything, screenshots, videos, the works, to a burner social media account. By the time I was done here, everyone from Emily's friends to Max's clients would know exactly who they were dealing with. Max finally found his voice. "You're crazy, man!" "Crazy?" I stepped closer, towering over him. "Crazy is wrecking your family for a guy who can barely spell integrity." Emily was crying now, mascara streaking down her face. "Please don't do this. Let's talk about this at home. We can fix this." I shook my head, the weight of everything hitting me all at once. "There's no fixing this, Emily. You made your choice. Now you get to live with it." With that, I turned on my heel and walked out of the room, slamming the door behind me. The sound echoed in the hallway, but it wasn't loud enough to drown out the satisfaction I felt. The ball was going to drop at midnight, but Emily's life had already hit rock bottom. By the time I got home, the adrenaline was still coursing through my veins. I poured myself a drink, sat down at the dining table, and pulled out my laptop. The burner account I'd set up was already gaining traction. Within minutes of uploading the evidence, people were liking, sharing, and commenting. The captions practically wrote themselves. Caught in the act. Married mom cheats with her personal trainer. And New Year's Eve scandal. Fitness guy flexes his way into a married woman's life. I'd blurred out Emily's face in some posts, for the kid's sake. But Max? Oh, I let his smug mug shine. By the time the clock struck midnight, the fireworks weren't just in the sky. My phone buzzed with messages from friends and family who'd seen the posts. My best friend Mark called me, his voice a mix of shock and disbelief. "Dude, is this real?" he asked, not even bothering with pleasantries. "Every word of it," I said, swirling the whiskey in my glass. "You're savage," he said, almost laughing. "Max is getting roasted in the comments. His clients are tagging his gym, asking if this is what they're paying for." I allowed myself a small, bitter smile. Couldn't happen to a nicer guy. As the hours passed, the fallout began to unfold in real time. The gym where Max worked posted a statement. "We do not condone unprofessional behavior by our trainers. This matter is under review." Translation? Max was probably about to be unemployed. Emily, on the other hand, wasn't as quiet. Around 1 a.m., I got a frantic call from her. I let it go to voicemail. She tried again. And again. On the fifth call, I finally answered, my voice icy. "What do you want, Emily? Why are you doing this?" she cried, her voice a mix of panic and anger. "You're destroying my life." "I'm destroying your life?" I said, laughing coldly. "No, Emily. You destroyed your life the second you decided to sleep with Max. This is just the consequences catching up to you." She launched into a tirade about the kids, about how I was making things worse. "Think about Jamie and Lily," she pleaded. "They don't deserve this." "And what about what they deserve, Emily?" I shot back. "Do they deserve a mom who lies, cheats, and throws away her family for some guy with a six-pack? Don't play the victim. You made this bed, now lie in it." Her sobs on the other end of the line didn't move me. I hung up and blocked her number. Part 7, the morning after. The next morning, I woke up to chaos. The burner account had gone viral overnight. Max's gym had officially announced his termination, and the comment section was a dumpster fire of people sharing similar stories about him. Turns out, Emily wasn't the first married woman he'd been caught with. As for Emily, her friends weren't as loyal as she probably thought. A few of them DM'd the account, confirming they'd suspected something was up for months. One even sent me a screenshot of Emily venting about how boring I'd become as a husband and how exciting Max was in comparison. The kicker? Beth, the infamous best friend Emily had been using as her cover, messaged me, too. She was furious. "How dare she use my name to cover up her garbage?" Beth wrote. "I'd never let her drag me into this mess. If you need me to back you up in court, I'm there." It was like every lie Emily had told was crumbling around her. By mid-afternoon, I got a call from my lawyer. "Well," he said, chuckling, "I don't think I've ever seen someone take a divorce case viral before. Is it going to hurt my chances in court?" I asked. "Are you kidding? You've got her dead to rights. The evidence, the public fallout, this case is a slam dunk. She's going to have a tough time claiming she deserves anything after this." And that's exactly what I was counting on. Emily finally showed up at the house that evening, looking like a ghost of herself. Her makeup was smeared, her hair a mess, and her eyes puffy from crying. She didn't even knock, just let herself in with her key and stood in the doorway, clutching her purse. "We need to talk," she said, her voice hoarse. "Not much to talk about," I said, barely looking up from my laptop. "Please," she said, stepping closer. "I messed up. I know I did. But I never meant for it to get this far. Did you think about that before or after you booked the hotel room?" I asked, my voice cold. She broke down, sinking into a chair at the dining table. "I was stupid. I was selfish. I don't know what I thought." For a brief moment, I felt a pang of pity. This wasn't the woman I'd married, the woman I'd built a family with. But pity wasn't enough to erase what she'd done. I can't undo this, I said, my voice firm. We're done, Emily. There's no coming back from this. Her sobs filled the room, but I stood my ground. New Year's was supposed to be about new beginnings, and for me, that meant leaving her betrayal behind. As she walked out the door, I felt the weight begin to lift. I'd lost my wife, but I'd kept my dignity, and for now, that was enough. 2 days after the blow-up at the hotel, I thought things had settled into a grim routine. Emily stayed at her friend's house, an actual friend this time, not one of her fake alibis, and I kept the kids with me, trying to piece my life back together. But then, something completely blindsided me. It started with a phone call from an unfamiliar number. Normally, I'd let it go to voicemail, but something told me to answer. Hello? I said cautiously. Is this? The woman's voice trailed off, hesitant. Is this my name? Yeah. Who's asking? My name's Vanessa. I'm Max's girlfriend. That name hit me like a gut punch. What do you want? I snapped. There was a pause, then a shaky breath. I think you need to see something. It's about your wife, and Max. Can you meet me? My first instinct was to tell her to screw off. But something in her tone, a mix of anger and heartbreak, made me agree. She suggested meeting at a coffee shop across town, and curiosity, or masochism, got the better of me. When I arrived, Vanessa was already there, her arms crossed and her face set in a hard glare. She looked like she hadn't slept in days. Thanks for coming, she said flatly as I sat down. I don't have all day, I replied. What's this about? She pulled out her phone, unlocked it, and slid it across the table. Watch. I hesitated, my stomach already churning, but I pressed play. The video started shaky, like it had been taken from a hidden camera. I didn't even need the sound to know what I was looking at. There was Emily, clear as day, in a hotel room, giggling as Max whispered something in her ear. The video cut to another clip, this one more intimate. I won't go into detail, but it left no doubt about what they'd been doing. My hands tightened around the phone, and I had to remind myself to breathe. He records everything, Vanessa said bitterly. Every woman he's ever been with. I found this on his laptop after he left it at our place. I thought you should know. I stared at the screen, a whirlwind of emotions tearing through me, anger, disgust, humiliation. And what about you? Why haven't you turned this in to the cops? Vanessa sighed, running a hand through her hair. Because I'm still figuring out what to do. But I know one thing, I'm not covering for him anymore. If he recorded your wife without her consent, that's a crime. I couldn't process it all. The affair was bad enough, but this? This was next level disgusting. So what now? I asked, my voice flat. That's up to you, she said. But if you need this for court, or for whatever, consider it yours. She handed me a USB drive, then stood up. I'm done with him, and I'm done with this. Good luck. I sat there for a long time after she left, staring at the USB. The affair had been bad enough, but this felt like a whole new level of betrayal. Emily hadn't just cheated on me, she'd let herself get involved with someone who treated women like trophies. And now I had proof. By the time I got home, the USB drive felt like it weighed a ton in my pocket. I couldn't bring myself to look at the videos again, once was enough. But the implications swirled in my mind, louder with each passing second. Max had crossed a line so vile that it wasn't just about Emily anymore. I locked myself in my bedroom, grabbed my laptop, and plugged in the USB. It wasn't just the videos Vanessa had shown me. There were dozens of folders, each labeled with women's names. My stomach churned as I scrolled through them, recognizing some names from Emily's social circle. One folder even had Beth's name on it, her actual best friend. This wasn't just infidelity, this was a pattern. Max had been recording women without their knowledge for who knows how long. I was livid, but I needed to play this smart. Flying off the handle wouldn't help me now. Instead, I called my lawyer, Rob, and told him everything. This guy's a walking lawsuit waiting to happen, Rob said after I explained. And those videos? They're more than just evidence of infidelity, they're criminal. You could blow up his entire world with this. That's exactly what I want to do, I said. But how do I play this without making things worse for my kids? Rob thought for a moment. We go scorched earth. First, we secure your divorce proceedings. Make sure you get the upper hand. Then, we take this evidence to the cops and let them deal with Max. But you need to confront Emily first, preferably when she's least expecting it. That part was easy. Emily had texted me earlier, saying she wanted to come by the house the next day to talk things out. Probably her latest attempt to guilt-trip me into taking her back. Perfect. The next day, Emily walked into the house like she owned the place. She was dressed in her usual polished, put-together way, probably thinking she could charm her way out of the mess she'd made. I just want to talk, she said, sitting down at the kitchen table. I didn't bother with pleasantries. I placed my laptop on the table, opened it, and clicked on the first video of her and Max. What the hell is this? I asked, my voice cold. Emily's eyes widened in horror as the video played. How did you get that? It doesn't matter how I got it, I snapped, slamming the laptop shut. What matters is that I now have proof. Proof of everything, your affair, his disgusting games, all of it. She started crying, her tears falling faster than her words. I didn't know he was recording. I swear I didn't know. Does that make it better, Emily? I yelled, my voice rising. You cheated on me with a guy who treats women like trophies. He didn't just ruin our marriage, he's probably ruined dozens of lives. She put her head in her hands, sobbing uncontrollably. I didn't mean for it to get this far. I thought he cared about me. I couldn't believe what I was hearing. Cared about you? Emily, he recorded you without your consent and kept it as some sick trophy. You've not only destroyed this family, you've put yourself in the middle of a criminal investigation. Her sobs turned to gasps. What do you mean? I leaned in, my voice like ice. I mean I'm taking this to the police. And I'm going to make sure that both of you pay for what you've done. Max for being the predator he is, and you for being his accomplice, whether you meant to or not. She looked like she might pass out. Please, she whispered. Please don't do this. But I wasn't about to let her off the hook. She had made her choices, and now, it was time for the consequences to come crashing down. After Emily stormed out of the house, I sat at the kitchen table, trying to calm the storm of emotions brewing inside me. Anger, disgust, betrayal, it was all boiling over. The videos, the lies, the audacity of her tears, it felt like I'd been living in someone else's nightmare. Then my phone buzzed. It was a text from Vanessa. Did you talk to her? I stared at the screen for a moment before replying. Yeah. She knows about the videos. She's a wreck. Her response came quickly. Good. She deserves it. You free to talk? A part of me wanted to be alone, but another part, a darker, vengeful part, wanted to see Vanessa. She'd been through the same betrayal as me, and she'd been instrumental in exposing Max. And maybe, just maybe, I wanted to feel like I wasn't the only one drowning in this mess. Come over, I typed. Vanessa arrived an hour later. She was dressed casually, jeans and a hoodie, but she still looked stunning. Her eyes had the same weary look as mine, like we were both running on fumes. I can't believe you're still standing after all this, she said as she stepped inside. Barely, I replied, motioning for her to follow me to the kitchen. Want a drink? She nodded, and had poured us both a generous glass of whiskey. We sat at the table, and for a while, we just talked, about Max, about Emily, about how our lives had imploded so quickly. It's funny, Vanessa said after a few sips. I spent years thinking Max was the perfect guy. And now? I don't even know who he is. How do you get over something like that? You don't, I said bitterly. You just try to move forward. Or if you're like me, you fantasize about revenge. She laughed softly, a genuine laugh that felt like a brief moment of relief in the chaos. Revenge, huh? What would that look like? I hesitated, the whiskey warming me in more ways than one. Something like this. Before I could think twice, I leaned in and kissed her. For a moment, she didn't move, and I thought I'd crossed the line. But then she kissed me back, and everything else, the anger, the betrayal, the pain, faded into the background. We didn't stop there. One thing led to another, and soon we were upstairs, tangled in each other. It wasn't about love, or even lust. It was about reclaiming something: power, control, maybe just a shred of dignity. Afterward, we lay in bed, the room quiet except for the sound of our breathing. Vanessa turned to me, her face half hidden by the pillow. That probably wasn't the healthiest way to cope, huh? Probably not, I admitted, a small smile tugging at my lips. But for the first time in weeks, I felt like I wasn't drowning. The morning after my night with Vanessa, I woke up feeling conflicted. Part of me felt justified, even triumphant. Emily's betrayal had torn my life apart, and now I'd taken something back, if only for a fleeting moment. But another part of me felt like I'd crossed a line. I'd become part of the cycle, no better than her. Vanessa had already left when I got downstairs, leaving a note on the counter. Thanks for letting me feel human again. Call me if you need anything. I poured myself some coffee and sat at the kitchen table, staring at the note. Was it revenge? Closure? A mistake? I didn't know. But I didn't have time to dwell on it, because at that moment, Emily walked through the door. Her hair was disheveled, her makeup smeared from crying all night. She looked exhausted and angry, like someone who'd been plotting a comeback but couldn't quite nail it down. We need to talk, she said, slamming the door behind her. I sipped my coffee, keeping my voice calm. I thought we already talked. Don't give me that, she snapped, crossing her arms. You're blowing this way out of proportion. We can fix this, but you have to stop playing the victim. I laughed, a cold, bitter sound. Playing the victim? You cheated on me, Emily. You lied, you destroyed our family, and now you're telling me to stop playing the victim? She flinched but didn't back down. You're not perfect either, okay? You've been distant for years. Always working late, always more focused on your job than on me. What did you expect? I set my mug down, leaning forward. You're right, Emily. I wasn't perfect. But you know what I didn't do? I didn't sleep with someone else. I didn't lie to your face for months. And I sure as hell didn't get myself recorded by a scumbag like Max. Her face turned crimson. I didn't know about the videos, she shouted, her voice cracking. Does that make it better? I shot back. You still chose him. You chose him over me, over our kids, over everything we built. And now you want me to just forget it? Pretend like you didn't shatter everything? For the first time, she looked like she might actually break. Tears welled up in her eyes, but I didn't feel sorry for her. Not anymore. Please, she said, her voice trembling. Don't take this to the police. Don't ruin me, I'm begging you. Think about the kids. They don't deserve this. I stood up, towering over her. No, Emily. They don't deserve this. And that's why I'm doing what I have to do. To protect them, from you, from Max, from this entire mess. She stared at me, speechless, as I walked past her and out the door. By the time I called Vanessa, my head was spinning. Emily's crocodile tears, Rob's legal advice, the weight of everything, it felt like I was on a never-ending treadmill of chaos. Vanessa picked up on the second ring. Hey, she said, her voice calm but curious. Hey, I replied. You busy? There was a pause, then a soft chuckle. No. Want some company? Yeah. I think I could use a little perspective. An hour later, I was at Vanessa's place. She lived in a small but stylish apartment that was a far cry from the chaos I'd left behind. She greeted me at the door with a bottle of wine and 2 glasses, her expression a mix of warmth and wariness. Rough day? She asked, handing me a glass. You have no idea, I said, sitting on her couch. She joined me, curling her legs underneath her. Let me guess, Emily's still trying to guilt you into dropping everything. I nodded, taking a sip of wine. She's pulling the think about the kids card now. Like I haven't been doing that this whole time. Vanessa shook her head, her lips tightening. Classic narcissist move. She's not sorry, she's just sorry she got caught. Her words hit a nerve, but in a good way. For the first time, it felt like someone truly understood what I was going through. She even tried blaming me, I said bitterly. Said I was distant, like that's an excuse for cheating. Vanessa rolled her eyes. Let me guess, Max used the same line on me. You weren't giving me enough attention. It's textbook garbage. They screw up, and somehow it's our fault. We talked for hours, venting, comparing notes, and unraveling the tangled mess our lives had become. It was cathartic, but also something more. The longer we talked, the more the tension in the room shifted. Vanessa set her glass down on the table and turned to me, her expression softer now. You know, she said, her voice low. I've been thinking about what you said the other night. About revenge. I raised an eyebrow. What about it? Her lips curved into a sly smile. Sometimes, it's not just about getting even. It's about reminding yourself that you deserve better. Before I could respond, she leaned in and kissed me. This time, it wasn't fueled by anger or spite. It was different, gentler, more deliberate. But it was still electric. We ended up in her bedroom again, but this time, it wasn't about revenge. It was about connection, about two people finding comfort in each other after being broken by the same betrayal. It felt raw, real, and for the first time in weeks, I didn't feel like a victim. Afterward, as we lay in bed, Vanessa traced circles on my chest. So, she said, what's next for you? I stared at the ceiling, feeling a strange mix of clarity and confusion. I don't know, I admitted. But I think it's time to stop letting Emily dictate the narrative. I'm done playing her game. Vanessa nodded, her fingers still moving absent-mindedly. Good. Because you deserve to win this. And for the first time since this whole mess started, I actually believed it. The following week, I put my plan into motion. First, Rob filed the divorce papers, ensuring every sordid detail of Emily's affair was documented. I included a carefully worded custody petition. Emily would still have visitation rights, but I'd retain primary custody of Jamie and Lily. She'd proven she wasn't stable enough to put the kids first, and I wasn't taking any chances. Next, I took the USB drive to the police. Max's collection of videos wasn't just unethical, it was illegal. The officers were stunned when I explained what was on the drive and how it had come into my possession. They assured me they'd launch an investigation, and within days, Max was arrested for violating privacy laws and recording people without consent. The fallout was swift. News of Max's arrest spread like wildfire, tarnishing his reputation even further. Vanessa later told me his gym completely blacklisted him, and several of the women on the USB drive came forward to press charges. He was looking at serious jail time. As for Emily, she didn't take the divorce filing well. She showed up at the house one evening, unannounced, demanding to talk. Please, we can fix this, she pleaded, tears streaming down her face. I'll do counseling, anything you want. Just don't end it like this. I let her words wash over me, calm but resolute. Emily, you made your choice. Now I'm making mine. This isn't just about us, it's about protecting Jamie and Lily. I'm not going to let them grow up in a house filled with lies and betrayal. She cried harder, but I didn't budge. It was over, and we both knew it. A few months later, the dust finally settled. The divorce was finalized, and I was officially awarded primary custody of the kids. Emily had moved into a small apartment nearby and was making an effort to rebuild her relationship with Jamie and Lily. I didn't stop her. I wanted them to have a relationship with their mother, even if ours was beyond repair. As for me and Vanessa, things stayed casual. We saw each other often, mostly over coffee or dinner, but we both knew we weren't ready for anything serious. We were healing in our own ways, finding strength in the shared experience of surviving betrayal. One evening, as I sat in the backyard watching Jamie and Lily play, I felt something I hadn't felt in months: peace. Life wasn't perfect, and the scars of what happened would always be there. But for the first time, I felt like I was moving forward. I'd learned to prioritize my kids, my own happiness, and the people who truly cared about me. Emily's betrayal had broken me, but it hadn't destroyed me. In the end, it became the catalyst for something better, a new life, built on honesty and strength. As the sun dipped below the horizon, I took a deep breath and smiled. The past was behind me, and the future felt like mine to write.